The first and the most important step would be to have a clean USB drive which you are not using for any purpose, which is just lying around. Or if you don't have such, then you need to back up all the files of the USB and use it for the installation of Arch into your bare metal, if you're going to install it on the bare metal. Or if you're planning to install it on the VirtualBox, which I would not recommend because the performance is not that great as it is on bare metal. So proceed as you like. Now after getting the pen drive, the first thing you need to do is to download Rufus, and then you need to burn the ISO file to the pen drive and then make it bootable, so that you can boot into the system from your pen drive and continue with the installation. Now you need to have a computer which is capable of connecting to the Ethernet, because connecting to the Wi-Fi I think won't be possible, and this tutorial would be based on connection over Ethernet. So make sure you are connected over the LAN to the internet before you start the installation. Now after you have successfully burned the file into the USB stick and made it bootable, if you don't know how to do it, I have a complete video about that. Click on the link that is shown above to access it. Now after you have done that, you need to figure out which option is working, which option is enabled for your system, to enter into the BIOS menu or the UEFI boot menu, so that you can select from which device you need to boot. So for HP it is F9, you need to keep on pressing when the BIOS screen is shown. For Dell it is F12, and for other companies I do not know, you need to do a little bit of Google search. Now I have HP and Dell, I know those, so I'm mentioning from there. And sometimes you might be able to access the boot options by pressing the escape key many times. From there you will be able to see a menu which is similar to this one. Now I'm just going to put the 3 boot menus that I have here. One is of legacy BIOS in Dell, another in UEFI Dell, and another in my HP machine, so that you can relate which one to how it is going to appear there. After that step, select the pen drive that is connected to the system for continuation of the boot, and the steps will follow. We're going to install in the easy way, that is by using the Arch script that we need to download from GitHub. And due to some reason SourceForge is not working. I mean, I downloaded the file but it redirected to some other link. So I thought of not going into some problem and just copying and pasting whatever is given there. Now you can see that the script has finally been downloaded. Now we need to start the script by writing sh archfi. What this script does basically is it gives you access to all the things that you need to install one by one in a very organized manner, so you don't miss out anything. As it might be possible as a human that you miss out some of the installation and then you find that this distribution is not working properly, though the installations are possible later. But I think this is a better format. But I mean, if you have the privilege, then why don't you just use it? And the best part is that you don't even have to interact with some kind of command line or something. You just have the options coming up in front of you and you're just selecting the packages. The basic thing that you need to know is just the packages that you want, and you need to be sure that you don't end up installing many things, I mean too much of things, or end up installing too less of things, such that your distribution does not work correctly as you expect it to be. So like that, I'm just going to show you what are the basic minimal things that you need to get up right into your computer to keep as an average Linux guy what you need and to work with. That's all. So first we are going to select the language. If you need to change the language, just change it. And next we are going to select the keyboard layout. For me it is US. Now we move into the disk partition part, and now we are going to manually reserve disk space as much required, or you can use the auto disk space installation also. So the first we are going to select the boot partition. Let's keep a fair amount of space let us select 500 MB for the boot partition, and now we have some free space. We can create a swap. If you have a RAM lesser than 8 GB, it is very much important that you create a swap file, swap directory or swap partition, and then we are going to allocate the rest of the space to root, and we are not keeping separate space for home, and it will be using basically residing inside the root directory. At this point we are just ready to edit the partition, so we just move into this, select the boot partition. Now it is good to write down which partitions you are going to select. We select the root partition, and home is also set to none, and I don't have swap, as you had seen. Now if we click on mount, it doesn't work, so we need to format the partitions first according to the requirement. So let's just move back and let's just format this. Now the next method is quite simple. So we first need to mount everything. After the mounting is done, we select the Linux package that we want to install, and the installation continues, and this will take a bit of time for the installation, so be patient, and I'm going to fast forward the video now. At this point, a major step of the Arch Linux installation has been completed. Now we move on to the configuration of the Arch Linux. So we set up the host name, and you can give it as you like it. And now we move to the keyboard layout. Keyboard layout had been already set. Now if you'd like to change or something, you can just go there and change. So we just move into this. We select the US and then move into locale. Now we set the time. Now in the next step, we are going to set the root password. So select a very strong root password so that you can easily access the root account, and let's move into this. Final and the most important part of the Arch Linux installation, before we move into the graphical user interface stuff like the desktop and others, is the bootloader. Now what is the bootloader is basically before you start Arch, you will be able to, just after the BIOS screen, you'll be able to see an option, an array of the menu containing all the operating systems that is loaded in your computer. So you can just directly move on from one operating system to the other. Now another advantage is that directly from the bootloader, you can choose the version of Linux kernel that your operating system is going to use. And for Arch user, it is mainly important because they are kind of bleeding edge. So you are going to use one might be using the latest Linux kernel and also the LTS version, so you can just move from one kernel to the other whenever required. So we are going to install grub out here. Now talking about grub, if you are new to Linux, you might not know that what is grub. Grub is basically a bootloader that will appear just after the BIOS screen on your laptop or the desktop that you're using, and it would let you choose which operating system to boot into. It also has some advanced option for Linux users to choose the kernel they will be using for the boot. Now we click on the back button and we get back to the main menu, and here we can see the extras option. And if we go to the extras option, then we'll be able to select all the packages that are there. Now we get back, and this option will help us to set up the desktop experience by installing all the scripts that are requirement or necessary. Now we click on that, enter that, and click enter the yes button, and then we move into the installation of the required scripts for the support. Now after this is done, you will go find this one, install and run Arch GUI, and we're going to enter this option. Now as soon as you do that, you will see some scripts running, and then we will have another option window coming up to choose the server from which we are going to download all the stuff. So just wait for a few minutes and it will pop up soon. Now I'm going to choose sourceforge.net for downloading all the required files, since it is just recommended, though I don't know, it wasn't working. Sometimes SourceForge is down and not working, so we just select it. After we press the enter button, we find all the packages being downloaded that are required, and now we click on update. We enter the main menu and go to the updates option. Now from here we are going to install Pacman first. Press the enter key and press Y, and there we go, the installation starts. It is done. We press any key for continuation. Let us press the enter key. Now we go back to the main menu. Here we have the other option, that is install Trizon, Yay. These are basically AUR helpers, so choose any one and install which you know. So we are going to install Yay. Now if you need anything else, you can just install from here. Enter for yes. And now we need to choose the repository core, and let us choose all from here and click on Y. That is, the installation continues. Okay, so the process is finally done, and now we go to the back, click on the back button. So let's move down and back, and then we move down to the install button. Here we click on console and then install all the selected files here, and click on Y, enter Y. And now we are going to install the apps that are as required. Now the compression tools that are required, all of them we need, like the zip file, the unzip, rar and all. We need them all together. So we install every packages that were selected. Now we move to the network tools and continue with the installation by selecting all the installing all the selected packages. Now we go with the installation of the network tools. After it is done, we go on with the web browser, but I won't be installing any of the web browser because these are all command line based web browser. I don't think you will be needing them in this age of graphical user interface, so I will just skip them. Now we get back to the main menu and go on with the installation inside the system, and we will select the Linux kernel. Now we will select the LTS version or the main Linux version. If you need, you can install. So I will recommend you to install the LTS version here because it is the long-term supporting version and it's the stable one, so it is basically what you would like to go for. After doing this, we get back to the main menu and we're going to install all the services that are required. Install the selected services. Now we allow all the permissions that are required by clicking yes. Now we go to file systems and install all the selected packages. Now we head over to the sound system installation. I don't need anything for printing, so we skip that and hit the back button. Now we go to Xorg and install all the required packages that are selected by default. Now we are going to install Plasma 5 desktop, that is by KDE. It is my favorite desktop environment and it is the most maintained, as you can see, so hence I'm going to install it. Let's first jump over to the KDE application installation. So we'll just select some applications from KDE that we are going to install, and then the installation will proceed. as you can see. Now if you want to install all of the KDE applications, then you might go for the full option, but I won't recommend you doing that because I don't think you need all of the KDE applications that you need to download. And moreover, you can install the applications later whenever it is necessary. So it is better to go for selective version and just selecting the application that you would like to install. And now we go for the Plasma packages. As you can see, the selected packages will be installed. So you can go for the installation or deselect some options, like for example some themes if you do not like to install, like Breeze and all. You can just deselect them. Also if you don't need to Discover, you can just deselect them. I'm going to keep Discover for this installation to just show it to you. So I'm going to keep the Discover and all of the themes that is just selected by default and go with the default unchanged settings. Now at this point you are going to get some permissions to be granted. Just select yes for granting all the permission. For some of the applications they require to run at startup, so you need to just enable them. Now we have some Plasma components here, like the partition manager and all. You can go and install them if you need. Now we go for the display manager installation. For KDE we need SDDM, so we're just going to install SDDM. And now we have the last option here, that is the application install menu. So there is Office, Internet, Multimedia, Graphic, Developer and all. So for Internet you can install browsers if you require. You can select a browser from here for installation, or you can do them later also. Why increase the length of an installation process? You can just do them later by installing from the terminal, or you can just install them from Discover if you are running it there. For graphical user interface in Pacman, we are going to select Octopi for the installation. And that should be the last part of the KDE desktop installation. Now we return back to the main menu for the installation. So we move over to config menu, and we're going to select the account. We're going to create an account and add a username. So let's just give a random username. I'm going to give live, and let's give a password here for the username. Oops. Okay, so yeah, we have a live user created, but the password was given wrong. So we just add an user, create a password, yes, that is now working. Now remember to add your username to the sudoers list. So how you're going to do that is just go to that sudoers part, and there you will be able to see an option that is showing your username. You're just going to add your name there so that you can do all the run your computer as a root there whenever necessary. Now at this point we have done everything. Now we just need to restart the system. The installation is complete and we did it pretty much together, I think. So it was really fun doing this, and I would say that installing Arch gives is really something more educational than other graphical user interface that I have used till today. There is a lot of new things that I came to know through the installation of this Arch Linux, and I have even installed it on bare metal on my laptop, and the performance is just awesome with Arch. And none of the distros that I've used till date is as fast and as snappy as Arch that has been running on my legacy laptop now as the default. Whenever you are running Arch, it is important that you take backups very frequently. At least weekly you need to take backups, because Arch strives to be bleeding edge, and it might happen with an update that it breaks your system. So at that point of time you need to have a backup so that you can move back to the previous version before the update when everything was working correctly. So that is all for today. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, then do consider subscribing and liking the video and give a thumbs up. That really means a lot for me to continue all these awesome videos.